a character of many roles. We know him as Major Henry West from 28 Days Later, Claude from Heroes, Matt Jameson from The Leftovers, James McKellen Destro from G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, Malekith from Thor, The Dark World, an Emmy Award-winning performance in the series Accused, author of a recent biography, I Love the Bones of You. For many, he is the Ninth Doctor. For some, he is the Doctor. GalaxyCon 2019, please welcome Mr. Christopher Eccleston! Welcome to Louisville.
Thank you very much.
Oh, so glad to have you here. They're so happy to see you. So it's great. It's great. How you been?
Good. Last time we met, I wasn't so well, but I'm well now. A little bit jet lagged, a little bit too much whiskey last night. But...
What I'd love to do is, I know there are going to be a lot of Doctor Who questions out there, so I'd like to ask you about some of the non-Whovian stuff, if that's okay. I know The Leftovers is very dear to you. Could you tell us about that experience?
Yes, I always wanted to do I became fascinated with the American showrunner system and the writer's room. I read a couple of books, Difficult Men, and the other book, which is by a writer called Alan Sepinwall, inside the revolution, the American Revolution television. And The Leftovers came along, I read the novel, and I approached Damon Lindelof to be in it. And I said I wanted to play Matt Jameson. He said, well, Matt Jameson isn't in the series. We've not lifted him out of the novel. But let me think about it. And he put Matt Jameson in, and it's been one of my favourite roles of all time. I just love playing him.
Absolutely. Bravo performance, and thank you for that. It's a great show. So you seem to chase after a lot of these signature roles because you have summer experience on Doctor Who. You called up Russell and said, I want in.
Yeah, I've never been passive as an actor. I've always gone after things that I wanted to do. Yeah, I emailed Russell T Davies and said I wanted to audition for Doctor Who. I emailed Damon about The Leftovers. Yeah, I think you've got to. If you want something, I mean, the whole reason I became an actor was because I wanted to play Macbeth at the Royal Shakespeare Company. And I managed to do it. I decided at 17 that was my ambition, and I managed to do it. And I'm not being arrogant about that. I just think it's important to have a goal and aim for it. Even if you fail, but aim.
In our hearts and minds, you've certainly succeeded.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Thor, because it's very curious. I realized this on rewatching a few weeks ago. Malekith was actually a worse villain than Thanos. Thanos only wanted to kill half the universe. Your character wanted to kill the whole thing.
The whole reason I accepted the role. I don't do things in halves.
What was your makeup experience like in that?
Makeup experience was a surprise. That was, they said to me, there's going to be a little bit of makeup. You'll spend a little bit of time in the makeup chair. And then they used to collect me at 2 a.m. in the morning. 45 minutes to the studio. I'd start in makeup about 3 a.m. and I would be ready for the set by 10 a.m. So it was quite a lot. Yeah, it was a lot more than I expected. But I got to work with Anthony Hopkins. I got to work with Chris Hemsworth, and they were both gentlemen. And it was an interest. I visited Iceland. We shot some of the film in Iceland. Had a wonderful director, Alan Taylor. So it was an interesting experience.
Thank you for being a part of the greater Marvel universe. We appreciate it so much. So, well, that's all I got. I would love to open up to our audience questions, so I'm going to jump on there and let's fire this up. Hey, not bad for a 51-year-old. Okay. Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Jenna, and I have my nephew Nelson on FaceTime, and he has a question he wants to ask.
Oh.
Can you ask it, Nelson?
What's the baddest bad guy you fought?
The baddest bad guy you fought.
Who's the baddest bad guy the Doctor fought? It's got to be the Dalek. If any doctor comes up here and tells you it's not the Dalek, he's lying. Sorry, she's lying. But those kids with the gas masks, they were frightening too. I don't want to see them again.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I just want to say you are my doctor. You are the reason that I got into the show, so thank you.
My pleasure.
I don't feel like we got to know you enough. And there's the Big Finish audio plays, they've got all the old doctors and everything. Is that something that you consider doing?
Sure, if they make offers, yeah. I'll consider it, yeah.
Anything is possible.
Thank you.
Hi, what's your name?
Kana. My question is, when you made Gone in 60 Seconds, did you get to drive any of the cars?
Well, that's a funny story, because... Does anybody know this story?
Lay it on us.
Well, you know, it was quite a macho environment, you can imagine. Making of that film, it was, you know... And I had to do an interview for the EPK, for the press kit. And this guy, you know, was like, "So Chris, you know, what car do you drive?" I said, this English guy, you know, on an American set. I said, "Oh, I don't drive." He almost left the interview. It was like I'd farted. So I was playing this international car thief and I couldn't drive. I only passed my test when I was 40. So I didn't get to drive any of those cars, no. No. Nick Cave was driving to the set one day and passed a motorcycle showroom. Stopped, went in, bought a motorcycle and drove to work on it. That was pretty cool.
Hey, what's your name?
Austin. Did your family...
I saw you this morning, Austin.
Yes.
How was your breakfast?
It was great. How was it? Did your family, like your children, did they watch Doctor Who? Were they fans?
Yeah. Me and my dad loved Star Trek. We were Trekkies. Huge Trekkies. My children, Albert and Esme, who were 6 and 7, obviously they weren't around when I made the show, and recently I tried to watch it with them. And I've written a book called I Love the Bones of You, and I've written in that book about my experience of watching the show with my kids. Esme, who's 6, couldn't pronounce Daleks, so she named them the Garlics. And my kids were absolutely terrified. And they said, "Daddy, why isn't your hair grey?" And I realised they were terrified because, obviously it's frightening, but it's their dad being chased by these monsters. So they won't watch it. Whenever I say, "Do you want to watch?" No! Oh, my son said to me recently, he said, "Daddy, a man came up to me and he said that you were the best doctor. Does that mean you make people feel better?"
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Steven, and my question is, outside of like the network just wanting to make a change, was there any really reason why you left Doctor Who?
Yeah, I've spoken about this. I don't mind. I've spoken about this publicly. My relationship with Russell T Davies, Julie Gardner and Phil Collinson broke down during the shooting of the first series. The first series of anything, particularly Doctor Who, any show you do, the knives are out, the guns are out, people are like... When we started with Doctor Who, a lot of people thought it was a folly, thought it was going to fail. So, after that, it was easy, to be honest. After that, once that first series was a hit, it got a lot easier. But the making of the first series was very, very difficult, and I kind of took the bullets for that. So there you go. It's all right. I'm a big boy.
We appreciate the quality of the time we had.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Hi,
My name is Sarah Ann. We as fans always have this moment where, with each doctor, where you look at them and say, "This is the doctor," or "This is our doctor." What was that moment for you on the other side during your season that you really felt like the doctor?
It was quite late, actually. It was during the shooting of... I'd already decided to leave. It's kind of bittersweet. It was during the shooting of the Dr. What's the name? Is it? The Empty Child?
Empty Child, Dr. Dance.
Because I realised the responsibility. I realised how terrifying those children were with the gas masks, saying that Freudian, "Are you my mummy? Are you my mummy?" And I remember having to do a scene where I had to run and glance round to check that they were coming, and I realised that within that glance there had to be enjoyment, because if I was enjoying myself, I mean, what I wanted to, my first instinct was to play absolute terror, but for the children watching it, if I wasn't terrified, they wouldn't be too terrified. So that was an acting lesson for me, and I've said many times, I think it's very important to do a second season as the Doctor, because you can look at the first season and you can see the things that work. Some of my broad comedy didn't work, and then you can calibrate your performance. So there's professional pride in me. I didn't get to just tweak the characterization.
Got up, one punch. What's your name?
Frank. So I know you've done a lot of work through the years. What would be a role that you couldn't do and you couldn't get in the mindset of doing?
I've struggled with my Hollywood villains. I don't think I've ever really delivered a great Hollywood villain at all. I think most of all it's to do with the writing. I think the most important thing about a project for me is a script. So I regret some of my performances in the Hollywood films. I couldn't find any depth to the characters, but it was my fault, it was my failing, because there are better actors than me, like Alan Rickman must have seen nothing on the page when he played Robin and Sherwood, and I think he improvised those, improvised that line, "Cancel Christmas" and all that. So it was my failing, yeah. I'd like to do a really complex bad guy. Pull that off once.
What's your name?
Robert.
Yeah, Robert.
In Gone in 60 Seconds, how many takes did it take for you to perfect throwing the money in Nicolas Cage's face?
I think I just did the one. Yeah, I would have just done the one.
Hey, what's your name?
My name is Nick. Hello again.
Hello, sir.
I followed your career for quite a long time, and one of my favorite roles goes way back to Shallow Grave, working with Danny Boyle, Ewan McGregor. I'd like to hear a little bit about your experience working on that film.
Yeah, I was very insecure about my accent. I had to do a Scottish accent. And the budget for that film was £1 million. So it was a low budget film. Danny had us all live together for a week. Myself, Ewan McGregor and Kerry Fox, and we all understood that we didn't really like each other, which helped the film. I remember, it was 1993, so it was certainly in the UK, it was early days for special effects, and I think I was in makeup for about 6 hours, having a false chest and neck fitted for the moment when the knife comes through my throat. I loved that character, and I loved creating that world that David had up in the attic. I have great memories of me and Danny and the cinematographer crawling around this attic, making things up. Very creative experience. It's a great character, David Stevens. Thank you.
Hello, what's your name?
I'm Cliff from Nashville, and first off, I just want to thank you for being here and for your body of work. Very much respect for you.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. My question to you, as an actor, when you were taking on the role of the Doctor, are there any, in particular, previous Doctors from the classic series that you tried to draw upon as far as any traits, or maybe who might have been one or two of your favorites?
Patrick Troughton was my favorite. I'm pretty sure my first view of the Doctor, I was born in 1964, I'm pretty sure my first view of the Doctor, I have just a flickering memory of seeing Patrick Troughton in a black and white episode and thinking as a child, oh, he's human but he's also alien. And I understand now that how important it is. Your first Doctor is usually the one that you are convinced by. So Patrick Troughton. During the shooting of Doctor Who, I decided to watch classic Doctor Who, and I watched along with 2 bottles of red wine. I watched a couple of Tom Baker's episodes and I thought he was amazing. Because by that time I was 6 months in and I knew the practical demands of the role because basically in each episode you do the same thing. You know, you meet an alien, you have to react to it, you have to save the world. And the freshness that Tom Baker brought to each episode, and the stamina, because we did 13 episodes of 45 minutes in 9 months. I was 15 years younger, I was fit then, and it really, you know, it's physically demanding. And so Tom Baker, Patrick Troughton, but my favourite at the moment is Jodie Whittaker.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Jeffrey. I'm graduating next May with a theater degree, and I'm 24 years old, and so I'm terrified. And so I was wondering if you had any wisdom to impart upon me and possibly anyone else with a theater degree.
You want to act?
Oh, yeah.
What will sustain you is your absolute need to do it. If you really need to do it, you will put up with the brutality of the industry. I've had one job this year, and here I am on a panel with people listening to me. I've had one job. It's really tough. I'm the tip of an iceberg. Most actors don't get anywhere near the career I've had, so it's about sustaining yourself. Somebody once said to me, part of being an actor is dealing with the unemployment and the rejection. And do as much theatre as you can, because we're free there. It's not the director's medium, it's the actor's medium. And I learned so much last year playing Macbeth, 119 performances. I learned so much about, which I'll take on to the next film set, or if the phone ever rings. But it's, it's a calling, isn't it? I think. I don't have wisdom, but I wish you all the love and luck in the world.
Always break a leg, and I look forward to Sunday hosting you at Q&A.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what's your name?
My name is Eli. First off, I'd like to say I totally understand the thing about cars. They're an evil creation of Satan.
Yeah, pretty much.
My question is, in my sophomore year of high school, in my English class, we were watching a production of Antigone. We were talking about the play Antigone, and it was a production where you played Creon.
And Jodie Whittaker played Antigone.
Oh my God, really?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know who Jodie Whittaker was until they announced her.
2012, myself and Jodie Whittaker played Antigone and Creon. So we were pals, and nobody knew then that she was going to be the Doctor. Anyway, sorry.
So it's very interesting. So my question is, what kind of theatrical productions have you seen that you really liked, or what kind of productions are you hoping to see, or perhaps ones that in your own future?
The play that changed my life was a play called Road by Jim Cartwright. And I saw it in 1986 at the Royal Court Theatre. And it was in what we call a traditional proscenium arch. theatre, so like this setup, you know? Stage, audience, and what they did was they ripped out the stage, and the actors, it was just a big empty room, and the actors walked around the room, and the audience had to form itself into an audience around each scene. So it's called Promenade Theatre. And it was a play about how difficult it was, well, how impossible and brutal it was living under Margaret Thatcher's regime in the UK in the 1980s. And it's set in a place called Farnworth, which is 3 miles from where I grew up. And I think I hate Margaret Thatcher more than I hate the Daleks. But not as much as I hate Boris Johnson. And seeing that play, seeing characters who had my accent, who came from my background, and seeing the wall broke down between audience and theatre changed my life. Greatest play I've ever seen.
First off, you were my first Doctor. So my question is, what were your favorite moments of being on, or of playing the Doctor?
Oh. I think moments like this, you know, I've come to the convention circuit late, and experiencing all your goodwill and love and enthusiasm has really, it's great. So thank you all. I loved every moment of playing him. There was, you know, from the first day when I met the actor who got into a pig uniform and then got into an astronaut's pig as an astronaut, and then I chased him around a building and I was getting paid for it. And every time I sat down I could look at Billy Piper. It's not a bad job, is it?
Hey, little buddy. What's your name?
Caleb. What's your favorite episode of Doctor Who that you weren't in?
Father's Day. There's traditionally, I don't know if they still do it, but in Doctor Who you always do one episode that's Doctor-like. It's to give the actor a break, but it's to give the audience a break from the Doctor. And that was the episode. It was really led by Billy. And now at the time, I went absent because my father had cancer of the esophagus and he had a gastrectomy, and he already had dementia, and he went into intensive care. We nearly lost him because of the operation. So I'd spent a lot of time away from the set caring for my father. My father was called Ronnie and I loved him very much. And then I came back to do a few scenes in that, and I just loved the whole premise of Rose's desire to meet her real dad. I just found it very, very moving.
Hey, what's your name?
My name is Charlie. Well, you've had this one screwdriver when you were a doctor. If you could have any other screwdriver besides your arms to use in a Doctor Who episode, which one would it be?
Are you asking me to betray my Sonic? Like somebody asked me, who else would you like to be your assistant? And I can only have one assistant, and it's Rose. And I can only have one screwdriver, and it's the Sonic. I know it doesn't work all the time, but it's mine. That's a great question.
Hey, what's your name?
Marcus. So I grew up in 80s England myself, so I hate Thatcher too, mate. So.
Yeah.
Going back to Shallow Grave for a minute, I think you played a very good bad guy there. You said you haven't played a decent bad guy.
Oh, that's interesting, but you see, I didn't see him as a bad guy. But you're right, the character had huge depth. But yeah, he is a bad guy, I didn't think of it. But he was a kind of, as an introvert, wasn't he, who turned. Thank you, anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
Would you, Adam Driver plays Kylo Ren, he said that villains never think of themselves as villains.
Correct.
So it's I get what you're saying.
Well, that's what you hope that the writer of Malekith or the guy in Gone in 60 Seconds, etc. And I do think that's changing now. I think they're understanding that. But there's also this panic, I think, with certain films where they go, the bad guy, we can't write it too great because then the lead guy, it may pull the focus. So there are a lot of business decisions behind those big blockbuster films, I think.
Hi, what's your name?
Abby. I was wondering on the set of Doctor Who what it was like to work with Billie Piper.
Fantastic. I used that word, didn't I? She's a brilliant actor, and she's a lovely person, and one of the most charismatic people I've ever met. I think anybody who meets her says that. You know, her career's she's turned herself into a major stage actress now, but at the time, she was really nervous. She didn't feel it was her world, she knew the pop world. And she was modest enough to be terrified, if you know what I mean. And she had no idea that the reason the first series worked was as much to do with Billie Piper as it was to do with me. And that's great, and that's to do with Russell T Davies, because he feminized Doctor Who, and it led to what we have now, which is Jodie Whittaker. Russell's great strength was making Rose actually the heart of it. She was great to work with.
Hey, what's your name?
Sean. So you were in a production of King Lear with Anthony Hopkins, that's on Prime. Did you have a favorite moment from that?
Every second of watching that man work. Oh, and also there was a great moment because I was in the green room between, because we got to rehearse it, and I was stood up, and Tony Hopkins and Jim Carter from Downton Abbey was there, and we were all chatting, and the whole time we were chatting, I was thinking, that's Anthony Hopkins, that's Anthony Hopkins, that's Anthony Hopkins. You know, when you're trying to be casual, trying to call him Tony, it just doesn't work. And anyway, I said, I've got to go now, guys, I've got to go and rehearse. And Tony Hopkins went, really? Shall I come and watch you? Took the mickey out of him. This is my favourite moment. Really? I'll come and watch, I might learn something.
Hi, what's your name?
Quinn. How do you fall so well when the TARDIS is moving? How do you fall down so well?
That is the nicest thing anybody has ever said to me. And I'll tell you why. When I was a child, I was obsessed with Sean Connery as James Bond. And the thing I admired most about his performance is when he got knocked out cold, the way he felt. Honestly, such a weird observation. He used to get knocked out and lie there, and he'd still look great. So I think I must have been impersonating Sean Connery, and that's the best question I've ever been asked.
You get 2 pieces of candy for that. There you go. Hi, what's your name?
Tina. You were my first doctor and I loved you as Malekith, but I was wondering how confident do you feel with the other doctors that came after you?
How confident? I'm terrified of the role. They're younger than me. They're better looking than me. They've done more seasons than me. I've only met them all briefly. I don't think I've ever met Peter Capaldi. I think I've met David twice, Matt once, Jodie I worked with. Yeah, I'm the old man of the family. Me and Capaldi. The old guys.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Derek, and actually my question ties in a little bit with that. How much have you kept up with Doctor Who since you left the show? And is there a story? And is there a story from after your time where you wish that would have been one of your stories as the Doctor?
I famously don't watch the show. I didn't watch it as a kid, and I only watch. I've not seen all of my own episodes because I'm too self-critical. I write about that in the book, actually. Some of that's emotional and psychological baggage I've carried for long years of looking at myself and not liking what I see, not just in terms of my acting choices, but my physicality and issues around body dysmorphia and stuff. I just think they're all better than me. So I haven't seen episodes that I thought I would want to have done that. That's a lame answer, but I just haven't seen them. For a long time it was hard, you know, I was very emotional about the show and I was angry about how I was treated by the three people I've mentioned and how I was treated by the British press. It caused the depression, what went on, so I just stayed away from it. But I love the stories I was given. The episode with Dalek, that episode was just a gift to an actor. So I'd like to do them all over again. Just older.
Thank you, Team Rocket. We appreciate your hard work. Hey, what's your name?
My name's Brendan. I have a question. Did you come up with the catchphrase "fantastic" or was it given to you?
I think that's Russell T Davies listening to me speak as I speak. And I've noticed that myself and my brothers use that word a lot. And I think that's the brilliance of, you know, a good writer. They listen all the time. And so he heard that I used that word and he gave it to the Doctor. It was very clever.
Hi, what's your name?
Elizabeth Gooden. You and Billy Piper got me through a lot. I'm very thankful for Doctor Who. And I was just wondering if, when you got the call to like be the Doctor, did you feel like you had made it, or were you like, oh, this is cool?
I knew it was a big deal, yeah, I knew it was a big deal. I'd been in the industry for about 14 years. I'd led some pretty big dramas on television, and I'd led a few feature films, so I wasn't completely overawed by it. I was just happy that I was going to make television for a younger audience. That was my instinct when I chased the role. I'd done lots of very serious, political, complex stuff for adults, and I know that children are the best audience. They're the most intelligent audience. Every time I get a job, I think I've made it. I wasn't supposed to be an actor, I was supposed to work in a factory. Every time somebody says as an actor, every time somebody says they want you, you feel like, it's, you know, I've made it.
Thank you. Hi, what's your name?
Dylan. Okay, so I heard you mention depression, and it completely changed the question I wanted to ask you, so I'm a little flustered now. So, having mentioned depression, there's probably several hundred people here that struggle with depression, and that's really hard, especially when you're a creative. Having struggled with that yourself, what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to make it in some kind of passion they have, and depression is keeping them from moving forward?
In my country, we don't talk about it. Maybe all over the world we don't talk about it. So while you're dealing with your depression, you're also dealing with shame. I would say that we have to remove the shame. Depression is just like breaking your arm. And it's no wonder that people get depressed in the world we live in, the pressure we're put under through social media. So take the shame away. If you feel any shame about it, remove it. And the way to do that is to tell people about it. And what's amazed me is in my book, I've spoken about my issues. And friends of mine, people who are right in front of my face, have said to me, I have depression. I suffered with anorexia, and I had no idea. People are so good at hiding it. But I'm really proud that that talking about it, which has been uncomfortable, has taken. I'm not ashamed of it anymore, and I lived with shame about it for years. So that was a very bad, rambling answer.
And today you are among friends.
Yep.
Everyone here is among friends.
Yep. Yep.
Hey boss, what's your name?
Jeff. And I hope to get back onto a more lighthearted concept. So my question is, if you had to refilm or redo any episode of The Doctor that you've done, or any that you've seen, which one would it be and why?
Oh, I'd re-record all of them. Because I'm hypercritical of the work that I do. I would have toned down some of my zaniness. I would not have toned down any of my zaniness. I wouldn't change a thing.
Hey, what's your name?
I'm Michael.
What do you have for us?
Tell us, looking back at your whole career, tell us some of the names of some of the most nice, friendly, great to work with actors and actresses that you got to work with.
Anthony Hopkins. He's just so generous and modest. And then he's electric when he goes to work. Kate Blanchett. I worked with her in Elizabeth. And I can remember doing a scene with her, and the camera was on me, and she was acting, and some actors, sugar rush, some actors, they switch off when the camera's on you, but the best actors work even harder when the camera's not on them, because they're generous, and because they care about other people. And Kate was like that. And the camera was on me, and her acting was so good that I completely forgot my lines. And I can remember going, that was absolutely amazing. Can we go again, please? Billy Piper, Anthony Hopkins, Jim Carter, Neve Cusack, who played Lady Macbeth with me last year. Most actors are, you know, the ones who are arseholes, I'm not going to name, but I'm certainly not going to forget.
There you go, thank you. All right, yes, we have one more, and you are a big Patrick McGowan fan. Look what we got here.
Oh, what an actor.
Hey, what's your name?
My name's Jay, and I'm a huge Prisoner fan, but not as big as I'm a Doctor Who fan. And firstly, thank you for being here. It was a pleasure to meet you, sir. And going back to The Prisoner, you mentioned James Bond, that you're a James Bond fan, and not everybody knows, but Patrick McGowan was offered the role.
I knew that.
So I was wondering, awesome. So I was wondering, you know, if you were a Prisoner fan, or what other, you know, programs as you were growing up shaped you as an actor.
I loved Jimmy Cagney as a child. I tell you, I just think he's an amazing actor because he could talk about complex villains. If you watch him in White Heat, Top of the World Man, the Freudian gangster, and then he'd do Yankee Doodle Dandy. It was, to a child, it was amazing, that range. To be so, I loved him in Angels with Dirty Faces. I remember adoring Sidney Poitier in The Heat of the Night. And Rod Steiger, but the dignity of Poitier's character in that show, and when the guy smacks him across the face, the racist, and Poitier just smacks him back across the face, that changed my view of the world. What was the question? I got carried away.
You answered it. Actors that shaped you.
Yeah, Poitier, Cagney, Patrick McGowan, Anthony Hopkins. I am the chairman of the Anthony Hopkins fan club. But I did. I mean, I saw him when I was a kid.
Hi, Chris. My name is Patty. I want to know what kind of future projects you may have up on the horizon you're allowed to share with us.
Well, I told you the phone's not ringing. But I have done a third series of the A Word, and people have been really good to me here today talking about the A Word. And that'll be shown, I think, on the Sundance Channel in America early next year. And I'm waiting for a job.
Well, we absolutely, whatever it is on stage, on TV, on film, we absolutely look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you as always so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Before we go now, we're going to take our stage selfie. We're going to invite everybody to come towards the stage, not on the stage, towards the stage. We're going to take a picture with Mr. Eccleston and all of you. And don't forget, when he leaves from here, he'll be down at his table a little while. Please stop by, grab a photo, grab an autograph, and don't forget the smiles are always free.